Going
I
live?
am one of those. I am one of those three. So I'm hoping it's going to appear on this thing at the moment. Okay.
We're live.
Cool. So welcome, viewers and you two. So this is our fourth one, right? And we've previously done it with myself and John and Mark. And the intention was always to have other people involved, but it was the three of us for a bit. We kind of did a few iterations of the same kata, which was like the game of life kata, and we tried a few different approaches. But they're off doing other exciting things today. So we have new faces, Ben and Billy. So what we've been doing with this is we've been using it as an opportunity to explore like different ways of mobbing, totally unrehearsed, unscripted, just us working together and, like figuring stuff out. The format we've been using for the last couple of ones was this driver, navigator, advisors type of mobbing. So the format of that is basically somebody's a driver, they are the hands on the keyboard, and then you've got a navigator, and the navigator is functioning kind of like the strong style pairing sort of navigator. So for an idea to get from your head into the computer, it's got to go through someone else's hand. And ultimately the navigator is navigating the driver, but then the other people advise the navigator, right? So the navigator, they might chip in or whatever, but ultimately the navigator has to make the decision that this is the route that we're going down. We've been running it with a little timer. So the last two iterations we had, we did a 10-minute version. And the 10-minute version is quite nice because, it gives you a bit of time to see an idea through. But then we've been playing with the 5-minute version as well, which is like, it's a bit more exciting. Like you're chopping around much more quickly, but it's, there's always a risk that it's like you keep switching ideas and skipping about. So it forces you into a more, what seemed to force us into more of a, like we have to work out how to be thinking as one unit. So what would you like to do?
I've never tried this before, so I'm all up for giving this a go. So
should we do 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
You mean for like swapping over hands on keyboard?
Yeah.
I would do 10 probably.
Okay. Give it a go. Let's put that into the timer. I've sent you both the link to the session, so we're using Code with Me. And while I wait for you to join, we have chosen to play with the social networking kata today. But more importantly, we've chosen to work with Kotlin. And Kotlin came up in a conversation this morning. None of us have been using Kotlin a lot in recent times, so it's kind of a bit like, let's have a play with it. Let's sort of kind of get a feel for the language again. And we chose the social network kata because we figured that, it might allow us to create a few different sort of objects or whatever that might collaborate with each other. So it might be a bit more fun than just like writing an algorithm in a single function. We're going to do TDD, I believe, probably. We're not going to worry too much about the kind of like too many constraints on the kata, like implementing one thing then the next. I think this is more just about us implementing something that we can explore Kotlin with. Of course, if I'm saying things that either of you disagree with, please shout. But otherwise, we'll look at the kata, we'll start a timer, and we'll play with Kotlin. The only other thing to mention is 15 minutes before the end, wherever we're at, we'll just stop and reflect on what we've achieved or learned today. Happy with that? Anything else?
No, sounds good.
Cool. Who would like to share a screen?
I can do it. What do we want to share first? The actual kata itself?
Yeah, so if you just open the thing, I've put in the README, I've just put the rules of the kata in the project.
In the GitHub repo?
Yes, so if you join the Code with Me session.
Gotcha. Yep.
And then you should, there's the README. I can can make you all follow me, but I've forgotten how I do that. There we go. Cool. So yeah, if I make everyone follow me, cool. So the idea of the kata is just to build something that's a little bit like a social network. So a Twitter-ish thing, you know, it's a timeline of messages basically. The you know, one version of this kata is you implement like just one feature and then you move on to the next one. You know, you try not to look ahead. But for this case, I think we'll just build something and see how we get on. Did the share just stop?
Oh, I've just been kicked out of the code with me.
Oh,
Now it's coming back.
oh, I'm seeing you both coming and going.
I think given the current state of Twitter, we could probably give it a run for its money. Like, what you got, like a couple of hours? How hard can it be?
Yeah. Well, Threads is taking over, isn't it? But yeah, so it's just basic stuff, right? Like they use to post a message, it appears in their timeline. Someone else can look at another user's timeline, see the message. People can follow each other and then like see lists of all the people they follow or all the messages from the people they follow. We could do like mentions and links and things, but ultimately, we're not going to build like a web UI or anything for this. It's more like, you know, just something, you know, there might be a function like get timeline for Alice, and then you see Bob and Charlie's messages in that timeline in some format or another. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I assume we're going to do this all like in memory rather than like with a database or anything like that.
I mean, we can do whatever you want, but I think that's probably the most sensible way to play with Kotlin. Cool. So according to my timer, which isn't on the screen here, Billy is the first driver. Ben is the first navigator, and I'm the first advisor. We're going to run 10 minutes like this. And what we'll do is we'll go around. And another thing we found is that as you're looping around, it gets you know, it's always the same person navigating the same driver. So like halfway through, I might like flip up the order a bit.
Change places.
Yeah. So I'm going to hit the timer. And Ben, what would you like Billy to do?
Oh, okay. Now I'm on the spot. Right. Can we explore what, because I've never done Kotlin before, what does a Kotlin test look like? Wait, how do I follow Billy?
Yeah.
Looks pretty like a test. Does it run?
It should do.
It does.
Okay, cool. So the one thing with this is if you're running it in your IDE, then people won't see it. So Ben, for people to see it, do you want to run the tests? If you just like hit the little arrow next to app test at the top, it should, yeah, that should run.
I could also share my screen if that's easier.
Whatever. I mean, whatever works.
Actually, that probably makes a lot more sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Really,
I mean,
share your screen.
Can someone stop sharing the screen?
Yes.
I'll share my screen. Let's go with the whole desktop. Let's live dangerously. Let's hope there's no notifications that pop up. Okay, cool. So we've got Kotlin open. If I
think this thing at the bottom, this Kotlin test thing, that was something that I wrote earlier. I can get rid of it.
Okay.
Yes.
It's looking very green. Ooh, there's a new version of Kotlin. They don't need to upgrade them. Cool. What next?
Cool. So what, great, test passes. What does the actual app look like?
Like it's got this app thing, it's got a main, looks like a lot of fun.
Right, okay, so like, so main is the entry point. I'm just trying to link it back to Java over here, right, where you'd have kind of like your main app class. The thing here, it's just a function, which then what we're initializing, instantiating a class of app, and then, right, okay, that makes sense. And greeting is a property?
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a property. Yeah, it's a property.
But it's actually with a getter.
Yeah,
Makes sense. Cool.
Just from the point of the test, we may not need an actual main entry point. Like if we just picked like an interface to go through, a class or something, and we could just test it at that level.
Yeah.
Unless someone's got an idea of how would like to run it as an actual process that we can start.
No, I mean, so the test is actually testing the app class, right? Yeah, there we go. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So fair enough. Should we just go with that paradigm then? I don't know how to test functions in Kotlin. I guess it would just be.
It's probably like a.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. So what is the first requirement then?
Why is it not opening?
So Alice can publish messages to a personal timeline.
Yeah, so I think that's basically a user is able to post a message, and then there should need to be some mechanism to view a timeline, and that those messages should be in there.
Okay, what am I doing?
So how do we want to, I guess, model this? Because posting something to a timeline is probably quite easy. The thing that we have to solve here first is the storage, right? The persistence.
I think I would probably flip it on its head and say what does it look like from a user's perspective? So like, or from from the test perspective, basically, like before thinking about how we're going to model the thing, like how do we want a user to post and how do we want them to fetch their timeline?
Yeah, fair enough.
Should we start really simple and noddy?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when it's on a social media site, how does this usually work, right? Like you get, you open up your profile or something, or even your timeline, right? And then there's a function. Yes. Yeah, there you go.
I was going to try it. I was just posting that we were live. So, yeah, we've got,
Yeah, so we got there a starter post. I mean, so we can do the first function, which is like publish message, something like that. And we're not building a UI for this, right? So
no.
Yeah.
Am I writing a test?
Yeah, so I guess we want a test which is going to test the function. What's that function going to do? It's going to take some input, probably the message to post, the message to publish. And what's our expected response from that? So like, let's say function want to post or post message. What's our return value? Because I feel like this is probably doing some kind of side effect inside, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Tom.
No, I was just going to say, do we want to use that app class, or should we have like a social network class of some sort? Like the app, we can just be the app one. That's fine.
I would just put it in the app for now. Like we can always refactor it later, right?
Yeah.
It's just a container for our logic at the moment.
Okay.
So I guess we're still doing like class under test is app. So you could probably copy that, and then
I'll just delete this.
yeah.
Just a heads up, we got about 3 minutes left before we rotate.
Right, and then we want to do class under test dot post message. So that's our act. Now our assertion here, I mean, I suppose what we could do just for starters, right, because we're following TDD, is we expect this to just return without falling over, right? That's a simple test to begin with in the next 3 minutes, right? So run a test. It fails because
Post message doesn't exist.
Compilation error.
Isn't there a magic make me a method button?
Yeah, sorry, it's because you're on the code with me. I've got that. The rest of you haven't.
God.
Do you want me to press it?
Yeah. So I actually don't know what does that look like in Kotlin. It's just fun post. Okay, cool. Easy.
Run the test again. It's still red because we got this main. Can I delete this, Sophie? I assume so.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we can delete it because we're just testing, which is unit testing here. Right. So we failed because it's to do not yet implemented. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that you could do that in Kotlin. So that's kind of like I don't know, just like throw not implemented exception kind of thing. Shorthand.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is that like a macro? Like if you control click on that, what is that? Okay, right. So it's just a function.
Which literally does that.
Which literally just throws a not implemented error. Okay, well, that's, I mean, cool. Yeah, why not? Right. So we just want it to pass, right? So just get rid of the not implemented yet. Hey, there we go, green. Cool.
1 minute.
What next?
So let's write the next bit of the test. I would say, yeah, make it take a string. So if I post the message hello world, I expect it to still be passing. We can worry about the implementation later. Right, test failed. Yep, because we need to change our.
Can you press Alt Enter for me, Tom?
Yeah.
I can't write code myself. I just need the IDE.
So let's go back to the app to see how that's changed it.
Here we go.
So we got s:\string. Right. Okay. So that's how you do types then in Kotlin. So it's like a argument name then type. A little bit like Python. Excellent. It's basically like Python with curly braces.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like pretty
you
much
could say that about any language.
Yeah, most languages.
Okay, I think that's the timer.
Cool.
Cool. So
who's driving
next up? So now Ben shifts into the driver's seat and I navigate.
Just before we start the timer,
yeah,
what is the difference between a navigator and an advisor?
So at the end of the day, Ben is doing what I say, like the navigator says. So the advisor is absolutely can be part of that conversation, but it's about it's me that's choosing what goes in. We can discuss things. You can try and convince me otherwise. I can say you tell Ben, but it's like one person is sort of actively driving the driver.
So I'm navigating at the moment, or are you?
No, I'm navigating. You're advising. Shall I share?
I'm sharing.
Okay, you're sharing. Oh yeah, of course, you're driving. Okay, cool. So what we've got we've got this posting a message. Now there's one thing in the README, it says that specifically that Alice posts the message. I'm not so fussed about that at the moment. So I think we should make the second call in this test to fetch or fetch the timeline, right? Like it could be Alice's timeline, but we could just say fetch the timeline, and Alice can find her way in shortly.
Okay.
So after that, let's put a class under test and do so in the same test, right? So I think we should evolve that test above.
Right. Okay. Sorry.
So
rather than saying.
Yeah. So rather than it being a user can post a message, we could make it a user can see their messages in the timeline.
Cool.
In their timeline.
Would you want to modify this test or create a new one for it?
We can create a new one for it if you want, but I
'Cause
think
that feels like different
once
logic.
that's, yeah, but I think once we've done that, this one will probably go in the bin because it's
Yeah. We
so
could
I'm
duplicate
easy.
the test and then delete it afterwards.
Sure.
Something like middle ground.
Yeah, that's what
I
I
think.
do, right?
I mean, there's other things that we could, or like there's other things we could do here. We could do stuff around the posting message to say like it's got to accept like a valid message and it mustn't be too long and all of that stuff. But let's do this quickly and then see what we think. So yeah, the contents of this is the same as the previous one.
So Tom, like how far do you want to go with making types and stuff?
I want to make one little bit of functionality work and then refactor some stuff. But I've only got 10 minutes to get there before you take over and change everything.
Delete it or start over. No.
So we're posting a message.
And what message do we want to post?
Anything
Hello
at all.
world.
Okay.
Kernigan and Richie would be pleased with us.
So val timeline equals class under test dot get timeline. Let's do get user timeline. So even though we haven't specifically said that it's Alice yet, let's just go with that. And then the test under this will be some sort of assertion that says that the timeline contains that message. I don't know what the.
Oh, we removed the example, and now I don't know what it was anymore.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll get there.
Assert. Ooh,
Assert
okay, so we
equals,
could
I
say
guess.
like assert equals. Assert equals right expected.
Yeah, so can we just do I think it's like list of, right? So if it's just write the word list of, lowercase l, I believe. Might be completely wrong about this. Lowercase l, yeah, and then just put the hello as a string inside there. And then do comma timeline. So
Which way around do you want it?
Which one's expected?
Hello. That one. Second one.
Second one's expected.
Okay, that's the right way around.
Yeah. I mean, that feels right? So it's assert actual equals expected.
Yeah.
Typically the convention. Okay. Well, I'm going to run this test. And we are failing because we don't have this get user timeline.
Yeah. So we need to add that. Do you want me to do it?
I'm not getting the control period menu.
It sometimes helps you write things by typing them out.
Did the ID auto complete the list of string based on what the assertion was? That's nice.
Yeah.
All right. Let's run the test again.
I'm wondering if we should be explicit at the type that post returns as well. So that's our assertion failed.
Failing
hopefully.
because it's not implemented. Yep.
Just let's just. I think you're going to have to return if you delete that. I think it's going to want to return something, right? You've got an error at the bottom.
So can return a list of
empty list. Let's see if that. What does that do? Why is that yellow? Cool. Nice.
Right. So, oh no, it is the wrong way around.
Yeah, it's normally expected. Actual, I think. Cool.
Wait, why is that passing now?
Oh, I didn't start the timer. I've made a mistake. That should not be passing.
But that also shouldn't be passing. So just because I swapped them around.
Yeah, that shouldn't have fixed it. Is it run the same test? Did you run the right test?
Oh,
No.
okay.
Oh, maybe not. Okay.
We could probably delete that first test at this point.
I think so. Yeah. So, I'm really sorry. I've completely forgot to actually press the start button.
It's
So
all right.
what shall
I'm happy to do another 10 minutes. It's fine.
not another 10. Let's just do like another.
This is just the warm up.
Yeah. So I'll do like another 2 minutes or something. I'll just wing it, and we can. I'll start it next time. So we've got equals. Going back to the app.kt. I think just because of my sort of like obsessiveness, can we update that post message? Oh no, let's make this. Sorry, we're not in a refactor. Let's make that pass. So put hello in there. Cool. Run that.
Nice.
Okay.
Does anyone know what the Windows keyboard shortcut is for running all the tests?
Should be like Control R or something.
They're pretty chaotic on Windows.
Yeah. So I want to do a moment of refactoring, and then I'll pass the ball. So a couple of things. I think if we go back to the app, can we make that post message? Can we just give the variable a proper name, and can we specify a return type? I think the return type is unit.
The same way.
Yeah, I think it might be an arrow. Can't remember. I think that's right. I think you're right. And then unit with a capital U, I think. Yeah, I think so. Okay, but it's telling me it doesn't need it. That's interesting. Redundant. Okay, so maybe it's unit by default. I guess
Is
it's telling us.
Is that what void means?
Yeah, you can think of it as the same ish. Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's called unit because it's a type that can only contain one value, and that one value is nothing.
Right.
So at this point, I would normally start adding in state.
Yeah, I think I'm going to hand it over to you to do that in a minute. But I think there's one other feature that we can try in Kotlin. If we go to the tests, I believe in Kotlin, I might be wrong, but I believe that you can create a function name with backticks around it, and it allows you to have spaces in the name. So if you go to that, let's just try this, see if it works. So if you put backticks around, a user can get their timeline.
Wow.
I think I might be wrong about this. And then
No,
I think
it's
you
not
can
complaining so far.
Yeah, and I think you can put spaces in there now, so you can give your tests
wow.
nice names.
It's quite exciting.
Yeah. There we go. So if we run that now and it still works, then
That's pretty mega.
Yeah. I think my unofficial 10 minutes is over now. So rotating again. I'm great.
That's cool though.
So what's happening now? What have we done so far? Ben's been the driver. Billy,
So
have you been the driver?
Billy's driving now.
I've been the driver, I think.
Sorry, Billy's navigating now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm the driver. Brilliant. Okay. So I'll press start this time. And am I going to share then?
Do you want to continue sharing then, Tom?
Yeah, can do.
Okay.
Oh, I'm bad. Come on, share.
We have had a comment in the chat, by the way, from John Wilson.
cool.
Test behaviors, not classes, bro.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about that? I'll pause the timer for a minute.
Yeah, it's an interesting. What would that mean in this context? Like, are we testing?
I mean, yeah, so what would the behavior be over here?
I would argue that we are testing the behavior here with, that our class under test. Maybe that name is a bad name.
Yeah.
But this is what we've chosen to be our public interface. This code today. So, I'm not looking at anything in that test and thinking that's telling me about the implementation of this class. The only thing maybe I'd call rename class under test to social network or something, the app, but beyond that, I'm not seeing anything at this point which has bound us to the implementation of that class.
I think that would be a good thing to do, though, to just rename it from class under test to social network, maybe.
Yeah. And then maybe we can also rename app to social network.
Okay, let me start the timer. Okay. You happy with that as well, Billy? Social network.
Yeah, let's go for it. I hope we get more questions in the chat. That would be great.
Who was that? Was that a John?
That was a John Wilson.
Does John want to leave a follow-up comment as to how we're not doing that?
It might just be trolling.
Yeah, maybe.
But they have a very good point, because, and that kind of goes back to your point earlier, Tom, when you were saying we should do it from the test it from the point of view of the user rather than the business logic, which is exactly the right approach when you're trying to. Well, John replied, "Looks good to me." Excellent. Thanks.
Nice.
Cool. Thanks, John. Thanks for interacting. Cool. So, Billy, what next before I just sit here reformatting everything?
So what I would think would be really cool would be if we can get the user's name into the method signature. So yeah, just whack it in first parameter as a string, and then and don't really do anything with it. Just stick it in there in the test.
So we're going user name, yeah. Sorry, I'm typing in a pop-up that you possibly can't see.
Yes. I assume the refactor method signature.
Change message signature. So what I'm choosing that you can't see is I'm saying add a new value into there. It's going to be a string, and they're going to be called user. Let's call it user name. And I'm telling it that wherever that's going to be used, put the string Alice in. So click the button. It's done that. And then go into here and hopefully it says Alice. Actually, I don't like the order. Should we change the order?
Let's change the order, I think. Yeah.
There we go. Cool.
Perfect.
And do you want the same for the timeline as well?
Yeah, same thing. Just thinking about that requirement.
Yeah. Cool. So we have that there and that there and that there and that there, and we still have passing tests.
Cool. So one thing that would be really cool would be to get a little bit closer to the storagey bit of this. Now, Ben, what do you reckon is the best way to do that? Do you think we should refactor this test to have a different post message in, or do you think we should do something where we like write a new test which then has multiple values in, or a different value to force us to start writing that storage logic? I say storage, but it's going to be an array.
I mean, typically what I would do is write another test for it, and then like just keep on. And then once you start finding like that the tests have a lot of repetition in it, then you can start thinking about factoring out into, I don't know, like table tests or parameterized tests, that kind of thing. But it's probably a bit too early for that. So I would just start with another test.
Yeah, awesome.
Because you don't know at this stage what that test is going to look like.
Are you wanting another test with a different message in it?
Yeah, just duplicate that thing. Have something like a different user can get that timeline.
Oh, interesting. So you want a different user or the same user with a different message, or both?
I would probably go, let's do the message thing, because that's what our assertion is about. So,
and that's actually gonna force us to start thinking about the state, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Nice. Yeah, I like it. And then the assertion as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to run the tests? I think it'll fail. That's my prediction.
So. Cool.
It's the Different. Cool, awesome. And I would go hella naughty with this. I would just put in a list. I'd just put in maybe put in the value that was posted rather than a list and return that value.
Just a string.
Yeah, totally. Make
Can I do a refactor on that says turn message into a field? Introduce parameter, introduce field. Apparently not.
Property in Kotlin?
Might be. I'm surprised.
Right,
I would have thought it would have been.
Hold on, it's not the message you want to turn into a property, is it? I mean, that doesn't make too much sense, right?
Given this, that's all we need, I think.
Right, sure. Yeah.
I don't know. Let's do. So what do I do?
It'll be like
something like that. Create a property. There we go. It's worked that way.
Nice.
Late in it.
Ooh, does that mean that it's gonna only initialize it post? Do we need to initialize it to an empty string first to make it mutable?
Interesting, isn't it? Well,
so
but does it even need to be mutable? So I guess let's just try that. Let's see if it does. The message. Yeah.
Nice. Test passing. So
but I think you're right. It might not be mutable.
Should we post 2 messages then? Is that the next step that we need to be doing here? That would be what made sense to me.
You're the navigator.
I would totally think that we could just chuck in an additional message into one of those tests. Is probably how I would do it.
Okay. So let's change it. A user can get multiple messages like that.
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't want to follow this person. And then we need both of those things to be in here.
Nice. Cool. Okay, cool. Should we change that up a notch?
Cool.
So I guess string becomes a list of a list, and then we return the list.
Yes, at this point, I wonder if we need to initialize that. So let's call this the message dot add. Insert.
Push. Is it push?
Push. No, I'm not finding
Insert.
a push. Plus equals.
It's add.
I'm good at this, aren't we?
Add.
Oh.
I didn't see it there when I tried it. It's not saying it is.
Just give it a go if it's add and try. Maybe it's just not.
Don't think so. I think.
I wonder
so,
if it's because
we need to be mutable list.
It needs to be a mutable list.
Yeah, I think absolutely right.
Yeah.
Is it called mutable list?
So in the documentation, it's like, yeah, and you can also do mutable list of. So like where we're doing return.
Okay.
So I assume that we need an initializer, right?
Yeah, I think it's that.
Yeah.
There we go. Now we got the add.
Cool.
So this is interesting. So if I'm going to return the message. I'm going to rename that now.
Yeah, go for it.
So if I return that now, I've got 44 seconds left. Oh, it's interesting. So list of, even though the type is mutable list, it does equate to list of in here. Like it's happy with this.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, right? Like
I think it makes sense.
A quality check, not
Yeah, I think it makes sense, but it's of interest, I think.
I mean, I wouldn't think under the hood they're different data types. I think it's just the compiler stopping you from doing.
Yeah,
maybe
silly things. No.
What's up next? So I guess we've got 2 tests. Do we still need the first test?
We might do. However, the timer's just dinged. So let's do another round of this, and then we'll flip it up for the one after. So we're back to Ben navigating, Billy driving.
Oh, should I share my screen? Do you want to keep
It's up to you.
sharing?
I can keep sharing.
Okay, cool.
I'll follow you.
What am I doing?
So I suppose the next thing we could do then is, because at the moment, if we're always using Alice, right? And we've implemented some state, but list obviously isn't the best, or probably not the best data structure for this, right? If we've got multiple users. So how about basically copying that test and then posting Bob, or Bob posting a message, and then we rename this to, yeah, there we go, a different user.
Do you want me to have both of these being Bob, or just one of them?
Can I? Okay, no, I'll shut up.
That's a good question.
So maybe it's a different thing. Maybe you're saying a user does not see other users' posts in their timeline.
Because the post message interface, like function that we've got at the moment, is that posting is the user the target user, so posting it to someone's timeline, or the posting it from someone's?
It's from someone, I think. It's from someone. Yeah, it's from someone, but the first requirement is that their own messages appear in their timeline.
Right. So the post message here at the moment, Alice is just posting to her own timeline. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I think then the next one is, if, let's say if two users, so like Alice posts a message to her timeline, to her own timeline, and then Bob posts a message to his timeline, they should each see their own respective timelines.
What's catchy? So I'll put Alice in here.
So multiple users, or users can only can see messages from only their own timeline.
Is that what the requirement was? Is that what that is?
So.
Like,
I think I'd say it a little bit differently. I think I'm only an advisor here, but since we're talking about the functionality of somebody's individual timeline, maybe it's something more like other users' posts do not appear in a user's timeline.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Ben?
That sounds better. Sorry, the wind has like knocked my window open, and it is just bucketing rain into my room. So give me 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Do you want to pause the timer since Ben's now getting?
He's back.
Okay.
He's back. Okay, so users can see messages only from only their own timeline.
Yeah. And so here, I guess what we want to do is kind of have two assertions, right? So we want to run Alice's timeline, assert that she only sees the top message, and then get Bob's timeline and assert that he only sees the second message.
I think there's still a typo in the test name, but we'll come back to that.
Other users can see messages from only.
Oh no, that does make sense.
Yeah.
So it's not only their own timeline; it's only their messages appear in their timeline from themselves. Other users can only see messages from themselves in their timeline. I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, it's if like Alice posts to her personal timeline, Bob cannot see that.
Yeah.
On his timeline.
Okay.
So users can only see messages from their own timelines. No, can only see. Yeah, I don't know.
Naming stuff. And
This is the hardest thing is naming stuff.
What is it? The two hardest things: naming stuff and off by one errors and caching problems.
Yes.
Those are the
Users can only see messages from themselves in their timeline.
okay.
So we're going to need to get the timeline again.
Okay.
So maybe rename that timeline to Alice's timeline. And then we have another one after that assert. Or we can get Bob's timeline, and then so I think this is going to force us to implement a different data structure now, rather than just a list.
Failed. Not for the right reason, though. I think I ran the wrong thing.
Yeah, the names might have changed. Yeah, we run the whole thing.
So what are we expecting to see here, right? We're expecting to see, yeah. So we're getting all the messages back, but we only want the message that Alice posted to her own timeline. So now if we go back to the app.
How we can do this? Could make this a tuple, and then we filter on the username.
I mean, it's probably not, because I mean a dictionary here sounds kind of more sensible to me, right? So you have a dictionary of where the key is the username and the value is a list of their messages, right? Is that timeline? Now,
it's not the second one won't be a string; it'll be a list.
It would be a list of string, yeah. Now, here's where I'm starting to think like maybe we might want to start introducing new types, right? So rather than having, because it's also a little bit hard to read, right? Like we've got a mutable map of string, mutable list of string, where what we might want is some type aliases here, right? So like user and then timeline, right? And for now, we can just make them like string and mutable list of string. But yeah, anyway, that could be a refactoring that we do. We do in a second.
Let's get this let's get this fixed.
Cool. So
probably it might be insert or set.
It would be insert. No, it's not insert.
Set. Try set. I feel like set's a
Kotlin.
guess.
Oh.
Yep, set. Okay.
Like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should
but
be.
I think here what we want to do is so I mean, yeah, you could do the list of, right? And that will pass the test.
It won't. It will pass that test. It won't pass the other tests.
Correct. So I mean, I guess what we want to do, I don't know if Kotlin has like mutate list in place by. I mean, it seems like a fairly standard operation, right? Where can you just like get
it might have
username?
Update, I don't know.
Or update at any, or maybe we refactor it later, right? So let's do.
It might be compute. Hang on, it's compute.
What's
there you
compute?
go. So compute, I think, is basically taking it takes the key on the map, and then I think the second one is a function that takes the original value and will return the new value. I think.
Yeah, okay, right, cool. So inline it. So I guess we do. So what's our lambda?
Yeah.
What does a lambda look like in Kotlin?
Is it? I think it's braces with the arguments and then a pointy arrow. So not can I? I think it's like this. Arg, and then either an arrow or a colon and then body. I think it's like that. I might be wrong.
Oh, so squigglies, not curlies. Curlies.
I don't know. I might be completely wrong. Time is running out.
All right, let's just do we can refactor it later, right? So first what we want to do is get the current list of messages for that user, right? So we want to say current messages, yeah. Equals messages dot, I'm guessing it's get, yeah. Username.
Time is up, but I'm gonna let you finish this.
Yeah, let's finish this. And then what we want to do is messages or current messages dot add. Now here's a good question, whether that's a reference or a copy.
I think more interestingly is that it's saying that it may be null. I bet that's...
yeah. What is it like? Is there a second parameter? No, so it must be like a dot something or other. Or empty.
Or empty. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's quite right. The timer's gone by the way.
Should we rotate?
Can do. So that puts you into the driving seat, Ben.
All right.
Oh, sorry, I'll keep sharing. I'll just stop the share for some reason.
Okay.
Cool. So Ben's in the driving seat. I am navigating. So let's just write this out longhand and then refactor it. So get rid of that or empty.
Yeah. So
and just on the next line, just say, yeah, if current messages. It might need parentheses around it.
What's the condition I'm testing for?
It's equal to null.
Just like this?
Yeah. Okay. And then if that's the case, then what you want to do is say messages dot set username, comma, list of message. Put message in that list of, yeah. Is it happy with that? Why is it not happy with that?
Requires a mutable list.
Okay, yeah. And else let's just try current messages dot add. Yeah, put that in the else.
My keybinds are all not the same as in VS Code. It's annoying.
Cool. And then down below messages dot get. No, sorry, in the other function. Messages dot get. Username there. Let's see if that. Oh, that's interesting. So that's upset because don't like that. I don't think it's that. Can you undo that? It's the question mark.
It's the question
mark,
null.
Yeah. So if you just get rid of that, and let's say messages dot get. Can you put or yeah, that'll do. Cool. If you run that now.
Oh, I bet it was red before because we didn't have a type, so it didn't know what it was supposed to make an empty type of.
That passes now.
Cool.
Do all
so
the tests pass though.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Let's make it pretty. So the thing at the top is telling us that the var should be a val, but I don't care about that at the moment. So there's definitely some stuff that we can do in here. We can definitely do that that update thing, but I don't know whether or not the update thing. Ooh. Yeah, I know how we can do it.
Following through the suggestions in the idea.
Yeah. So here's the fun bit, right? So we just leave that as it is for the minute and just like underneath. So underneath line 15, I just want to try and rewrite this a slightly different way. So I think you can do current messages dot update. Okay. Compute, sorry, dot compute. Assuming that it's
current.
Not like that? What was it? What? No, sorry, it's not current messages, just messages dot compute.
Yeah.
Assuming compute does what I think it is, right? Like we could go and look at the manual, but I'm going to risk it. Okay. So username is the first parameter. And then a lambda. So we want a lambda that takes the messages.
This is what the lambda looks like.
Okay. I'm not sure, but we can go with that.
I'll have a quick Google.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much so. Okay. And the thing that's passed into that lambda is the messages, like the current, call it current messages. It's user messages really, but that's fine. And now we want to use that outside here. Why is it red?
I'm not sure you need the brackets.
Yeah, maybe not.
I think it's
does it
lambdas the code blocks enclosed in curly braces.
I think it's just because it hasn't used it. So after the after the curly braces on the other side, can you just type? No, it does. It's going to require braces around the whole thing. But before we do that, let's just type user messages on that side there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get rid of the braces. And then put braces around the whole thing. Yeah, I think that's the magic. There we go. It's still unhappy for some reason.
Missing a colon, then the type, probably.
What here?
Yeah.
Or does it have another parameter as well?
Oh, hang on a minute though. This is saying.
Oh no, here we go. Right. So it needs two arguments. It needs a string and a mutable list string.
Yeah. Okay.
Becomes a mutable list string. So yeah, right. Okay. So key and then the value.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So it's just saying you can have the key.
String.
Okay.
Messages. Blah.
Yeah. Cool. And then that's messages, but it's you call it user messages, so it's not shadowing the one from outside.
Yeah, we still got a typing issue because of the question mark.
Yeah, that's okay though. I think that's okay because it's saying user messages. Cool. So what I would like to do with this, I've got the timer running yet. So what I'd like to do with this, what's it saying? It wants a, yeah. It's saying so user messages is mutable, but it's found something. So it's assuming, okay, so it's unhappy. To make it pass or to make that happy, you need to put a question mark on the left of the arrow. So mutable list strings question mark. Okay, but I think we can go a step further. Can we change mutable list of strings now? Can we make that list of strings instead? No, let's just.
It'll have to be a mutable list, right? Because we need to add to it, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna treat it, do it more functional, because I don't think this works if it's not functional, right? Because you're mutating state. So let's do it. I've got 3 minutes to explain this. Okay, turn mutable list into list, and the same up the top as well. Okay, and then this is a list of that. So what we're going to say here inside there is you'll say user messages. Have we got ternary question mark with a space? So like user messages space colon, and then yeah. So we need on the left of at the far left after the colon we just want list of message. On the else.
Do you mean far right?
Yeah, far right. Sorry. Yeah, and then in the middle we want basically user messages with the message const onto it. Now that's probably not going to be add
because that doesn't return the actual. That's not like a.
No.
I guess it would be concatenate of some kind, which might be a plus.
It's also possible that this ternary doesn't exist in Kotlin.
Well, you could use dot of empty or
yes,
empty.
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So user messages dot. Yeah. So get rid of the ternary stuff altogether. So user messages dot or empty, and then we concatenate the message onto that, however we do that. So how do you concatenate onto a immutable list in Kotlin? Collections. List.
I think
List specific operator. Is it just plus? Can we just? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's. It looks like it might be plus.
Okay, let's try
like
that.
It works. The only thing
Okay.
it's complaining about is that the lambda should be moved out of parentheses. So I'm
Okay.
just going to do that, and that's
Ooh.
apparently a thing.
Okay, now
Sweet.
where it says user, can we replace that with an underscore?
Yep.
Yeah, nice. Okay, does that work? If you comment out all of the stuff above, does that work? It may or may not.
Let's do it.
Let's run
I'm
the
excited.
tests. Let's run the tests. Oh, it works.
Way.
Like, is that the better
Because
choice? It may
the
not be
list
the
is
better choice.
So
What are you going to say?
I was just going to say, this is a stupid question. Like, we changed it from a mutable list back to a list, but is that just because we've got mutable map up at the top? Is that why it still works?
Yeah, so the map is mutating, but every time we're adding a new message, we're actually creating a new immutable list.
So we're not updating it in place, basically.
No, we're updating the map in place, but we're not. But the value of the map, which is an immutable list, we're consing onto it.
That doesn't seem like the most efficient thing, although I don't know if does the compiler kind of optimize that?
It might be like a linked list. So sorry, the timer's finished, but just how you can do that with persistent lists. So a lot of functional languages have this kind of thing. And the list will be represented like a linked list. I'm not saying Kotlin does this, but a linked list will be like a linked list, right? So each item will have a value and then a pointer to the next value, and then a value pointer to the next value. Now, one way that you can, like, if you want to put something on the front, you can basically create a new cell that points to the beginning of that list and have one pointer pointing to that one, and then have the other pointer still pointing to the later one in the list. And then you've got like efficient, like they both use the same data structure, they point to different places. Whether or not it's doing that kind of stuff under the hood, I have absolutely no idea. Cool. It might even just be mutating it, but from the user space, from the code space, we're apparently creating a new list. Who knows what's going on under the hood? And it's possibly the wrong pattern for, our database, but it's the right pattern for cool functional stuff.
I guess it's thread safe as well, because we've done it as an atomic operation rather than multiple steps, which is exciting.
I mean, I don't think just because it's one line of code means that it is going to be atomic.
No,
I assume that's why they have a compute method.
Anyway.
Okay, Billy, you're in the
handing over now,
navigator.
Right?
Yeah, Billy's in the navigator seat. I'm going to be in the driver's seat, and then after this one, I'll do a shuffle.
Cool.
So, Billy, what would you like? But just before you start telling me what to do, I've just noticed here that it's pushed the lambda out. It's got like this block syntax, kind of like Ruby. Are people familiar with that?
Yep.
Cool.
No, that's completely new to me.
Okay.
But I get it. Like, it makes sense, but it is cool.
Yeah.
So I would like to add in a test for the behavior when a user doesn't have anything in that list. I know that it'll probably work straight away, but that probably means we've gone too far.
It's a good shout. It's a good shout. But should it work? Because
yes.
It
will work. I mean, what do we expect from the user point of view if they've got nothing? Just return an empty list, right?
Yeah.
Or do we want the user to see some kind of an error or something?
Well, it depends, doesn't it? If you think about a real,
you have no messages. Sorry, you have no friends.
It's an interesting
rather
thing
than an empty screen, right? Because if you just have an empty screen, then it might look like, oh, the site's not working. Whereas
I think that would be cool to that would be really important to do in a real thing.
Yeah.
But I think in this case, it probably makes more sense to have it as just an empty list.
So it's passed at the moment.
Can you break that to just prove that the test works?
We could say .or. Is there any other .ors? .or. There's no like or default. No, okay. .or.
Just return the name and just check that the test works. Or an empty. That would work.
I'll tell you what. I'll just say.
I mean, comment it out and return null or something. No.
I'm sure there's better ways to do this. I've just actually seen something else that we can do here. If user messages .name is null, return list of saying, oh, my typing is awful. It probably wants friends around this. There we go.
Doing too much Rust.
Yeah. There we go.
Cool. Test works.
Yeah.
So you can just undo that, I guess.
I've just seen something else that here with Kotlin, you can have, if your functions are single expressions, then you don't need braces. So like this thing you can make and you can define like that, right?
Yeah. And Haskell-y.
Just a thought. Yeah.
Is that just syntactic sugar there? Like
it's not, yeah, I mean, it's just like return, but it's kind of, I prefer that because it makes me, because you can only have one expression in your function then. So your functions have to be a single expression. If you're using that, as soon as you're like, I want multiple expressions, then you have to, or like statements, then you need to put braces in there. So
yeah, gotcha.
It makes me think more like functions as values rather than blocks of code.
Potentially run the risk of someone trying to over-engineer a single line of code and makes it a lot more difficult to read, and risk being it more difficult to read than
Maybe.
Like going the way of trying to push you towards being functional.
I think it's just like you just have to make a judgment call, right? Like,
yeah, no, obviously. I like it. It's cool.
I'm not a big fan of return as a keyword. I think it should just be the last statement. You get the value from that.
Like in Rust.
Unit or like in Rust, my fave. Can we have a look at the README and just have a look and see what high quality functionality we want to do next? Or do we want to add in some aliases for these types?
This is right.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, we could go nuts with the refactoring now, right? Like, what do we want to do? I feel like it's probably better if we want to like do the next bit of functionality.
Put it this way, we've got about half an hour. So we can, I think we can look at it from the point of view of like, what do we want to do from the code? Or we can look at it from, is there anything about Kotlin we haven't explored yet that we'd like to?
So I would really like to explore defining more types, either be them aliases or whatever. So that would make me very happy. Does that fit with what you want to learn, Ben? And Tom?
Yeah, I think so. Should
we have a go at making a username type or a message type? That would be pretty dope.
I think a message type would be great.
So I think you can data class.
Oh, cool!
It came up with a little thing already. You typed in D and it was already suggesting data class.
Yeah.
Message, yeah, go for it.
Is this like a record from Java 17 or whatever?
It's like, yeah, it's like in Python, it's like a data class, like the data class library.
So what I mean is, what's the difference between data class and class here?
So it's data class is defined on the like equality is defined on the values of its properties.
Oh, okay. So it's like a struct, basically. Like,
yeah.
Should we? So that makes perfect sense to me. I would be keen to swap out that string with a message.
Yep. Can you do Can you just refactor it using the refactor menu, and then it changes the tests too?
We haven't used it anywhere yet.
Should we? Do you want to do a bit of Alt G then and replace all those message colon strings with a message? And
Yeah,
property and
but
stuff.
it's not just those, is it? There's a few other ones kicking around as well. So it's that message cut. So I think I'm going to have to do it the long-handed. Oh no! If we want to do it so that we don't break anything, we can do this, right? So we can change the signature of that and have new message. Something like
So if you want to keep the test the same, right?
I want to keep the test passing the whole time.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
we've got that there, and that's now in a few places here. So we need to update these messages to match.
Interesting. I think I would have taken the approach where you internally create an instance of message and then refactor that into the
that would have also worked.
So like the test stay the same, but then internally you're using the types, whereas from the tests it's like abstracted away, right?
I just love any excuse to use that refactor introduce parameter thing.
Okay. So hold on, those assertions. So where have we? Yeah, walk me through what's the logic behind here. So we've got a string and a message type in the post message.
Yeah, I think we've broken the test.
No, we haven't. Absolutely not.
No, we haven't. I'm surprised.
Because
we're not using new message.
We're not using new message yet. So
are we going to add in a new messages type in this that we add it to?
Basically, we don't even have to do this, right? So at this point we can put message into here. We do
new message rather than just message.
We already strangled the patterning.
There we go. So now we've got. Oh, that didn't work.
You broke the test. Test commit revert.
Well, no, just undo that. That's no problem at all. But
let's do it the parallel way. Let's chuck in an additional.
That's what I've done. Okay.
Promote it back to a multi-line method and then have two computes in there and two messages. That's what I do.
We can make this into
a tuple. Yeah, that works.
I mean, why not just convert the types, right? So like you create an overloaded post message function, and then the OG post message calls that overloaded one, and internally it's using the message type, and then you've got both interfaces there.
You've got a section sign on line 13.
Yeah, that's interesting. Though Ben's made an interesting point. Have you got overloaded messages in Kotlin?
Yeah, let's have a look.
It's like Java, isn't it? That has overloaded things.
Yeah, so must do.
Let's do that. I like that. That's a cool approach. Yeah. I like that idea.
And it makes the interface way more flexible.
Yeah.
Oh,
and a bit
time's up.
Bit agnostic to types.
Okay, so I'm going to undo that, put that back. Stupid thing.
Are we gonna? We said we were gonna shuffle around after this, right? That was I don't know what shuffle is. Is a button that you can press on the thing.
Yeah.
So how about? Do you want to? Actually, I can't remember who's navigating now. But what I was going to suggest is, Tom, you stay as driver, but then we swap advisor navigator, and then the next time.
Yes, almost, but let's not keep me going for another thing. Let's move on. So, Billy driving, me navigating. That's new.
I'm gonna have to sit down.
Cool.
I can't stand as long as you guys.
So I think we get one more go each. Oh, sorry, I've stopped the share again. So Billy, over to you.
Yes.
I will drive. So I like that idea of like overloaded, like trying to do an overloaded version of this function. So can we try that and just basically make it take a message and
am I driving or are you driving?
Yeah, you're driving.
Cool. Sweet. Okay. Right.
Who's navigating?
I'm navigating at the moment. So me navigating Billy, then it would be you navigating me. That doesn't seem fair, but anyway.
It's
Is it this? Or...
I don't think you need this. Just post message. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's got message. So username, comma message.
And I think I probably need to change this.
Yeah, change the type. Yeah, there we go.
Capital M for Monday.
Now,
S.
so would we not
There's
want to
an
do
S.
it the other
There's-
way around? So rather than this one calling the...
I would absolutely start with this one because it will pass straight away.
Oh,
So
the
like-
S. I was like, what do you mean the S?
Yes.
The S?
Yeah. So that's
Right,
cool.
okay.
That if you run that now, like we haven't done in what? Haven't run all
Ignore me. It's I'm running the wrong thing probably.
Yeah. Run all the tests. There we go. So now we've got that. So now in the test we can start passing a message instead.
Cool. Okay, so
hold on.
if I-
So like, so now you you do want to change all the tests.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's,
I mean,
think
I
that's-
do. We don't have
Why?
to. We could keep it passing in strings.
Because then when we've done that, we can just press do inline method in this function, inline and delete, and it'll get rid of the other one.
I think Ben has a
Tom can.
slightly different question, Billy. I think Ben's saying, like we're doing the refactoring here, so we're adding the type, but we're exposing that type out into the public API. And
Which-
is that something we want to do or something we don't want to do?
So my argument is, I don't think you do, because the external API shouldn't care what the internal types are, right? So like from the point of the user, they just want to see their message right now, right?
Yeah,
So
but
what-
the user's
what
not going
data
to watch. Like this, this isn't going to be interacted with directly. This is going to have a UI stuck on the front of it.
Yeah, sure. But
So is that UI, does that want visibility of that message type, and you create message types, or do you just pass the strings in and then it wraps the type internally? I don't mind. At this point, I'm happy with both approaches.
I would much prefer to have the type exposed and this become part of our public interface, because it narrows down the totality of what you can pass into this function. So the domain is smaller. So like you can only post messages. You can't post, I don't know, user IDs.
Yeah.
Like it becomes impossible to put the username as the message, for example.
Yeah. I'm easy, but I'm going to suggest that we go with that approach just so we get more usage of multiple classes in this Kotlin example. I think Ben's point is really valid. Like at some point, like the validation of the message is going to happen at some point, right? Like the message is probably going to have like, make sure that it's not too long, or make sure it's not empty, or it's got illegal characters in it or something like that. Validation will go in the constructor of the message. And then the question is, do you pass that in and handle the validation before you even call the post, or do you call the post, get a string, and you get like an exception coming out if the message fails to create? But let's go with this, just because I've got the power. So yeah, can we pass the message in the test, Billy?
Yeah,
I've been overruled.
Yeah, I'm not overruling your opinion or suggestion there at all. I think it was a really good shout. I just I think it's this way or that way, doesn't really matter. So I'm just making a call.
Yeah,
it's a really interesting discussion, because like you've got two things, because you like either expose. I'm just going to do all of these. You either make your public interface bigger and therefore have more things that could create a breaking change, or but you also reduce the chance of someone misusing it. But you do also like get the other side of that, which is it's interesting. Cool. All the tests are still passing.
Okay.
So
Is there anything else?
maybe I don't want to flog the dead horse, but I guess my point was kind of more like, that message type is going to change probably a few times, and maybe possibly again down the line, like if you were actually building this, which means if you want to build your external API off of like this, then that means your data model is constantly changing. Whereas if you're using like native types or built-in types like strings, you don't have to change that. It's just the logic behind it that you'll add in extra validation logic, whatever, and then build the message internally rather than
that is probably still changing the interface, because if you raise an exception or an error or whatever in that situation, the user still has to handle that. Like, whether you enforce it with a type or whether you enforce it at runtime, it's for me it's 673 spot. Like, I can definitely see the advantage of it, because people really don't like having loads of types and being like, oh, I have to learn this whole interface, fuck that. Okay,
but also it means your tests have to keep evolving as well.
So this is when named constructors are people still say that? Is that a thing people say? Could be cool.
So there's a yellow squiggly under there. What's it suggesting?
It is saying, I can't tell. It's not popping up on my screen.
It says post message could be private. Yeah.
Okay.
But we could also just inline it at this point.
How do I inline?
I might have to do it.
Yeah, can you inline?
There you go.
I've broken something. I can't see my screen.
Sorry.
No, oh no.
Sorry,
what have we done?
I just inlined it and it worked. Sorry, I'm the only one. Oh, you just got kicked out, Billy. You're back.
Yes. I love
okay. Cool. So we're inlined, but while I've still got a 3 minutes of driving left, I want to get that type into the mutable map now, please.
Yeah.
Can we stop pulling the message string out of it?
Yeah. Okay. Message, right? And then so this is just that.
And then let's map that. Just map it and turn it back.
Is it map? Oh no, that's get. That's not what I want. Oh, map.
It will be map.
And then item colon. Is it colon? Yes.
Yeah.
Item. That's not what I expected it to do.
It's colon type and then arrow.
Oh shit. Message.
So item is a message and then arrow. Yeah.
I think there's a shorthand to that, but let's fix the broken line above first. Why is that unhappy?
You just need to change it from a list of string into a list of message.
Yeah. I don't think that those types and those lambdas add much. I think you can probably leave them out. But on that point, I think, can you try something that may or may not work? It's down on the bottom one where we've got the map.
Yep.
So you've got item colon message pointy arrow item. I think, and I might be mixing this up, I think you can delete item as well.
Oh.
So it just becomes
I think you can delete that
message.
It.message. I think it is a special word.
Ooh.
And you get rid of the arrow. I might be completely wrong about this.
Ooh. Ooh.
That's
cool.
This is like voodoo magic here. There's a but I will never use Java again.
Is that like because of Kotlin's so good, or just a personal preference?
Because I was just gonna say because Kotlin's so good, but like there's other reasons to not ever use Java again.
So I have a question.
Can I show? Sorry, go.
What was the thing? What's the other thing?
No, it's a complete distraction. I'll show you at the end.
Can we overload the return type as well? Is that a thing?
What, so that you say no? I don't believe it is, but you might be able to do a union.
What languages have a overloaded return type?
I have no idea. Probably
Haskell.
no.
Haskell.
So the compiler will pick the function based on the return type, like the type of the thing that it's going back into.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah. So what? Like I can't.
I don't think.
Give it a go.
I mean, you'd have to change the type here, yeah.
Unless you can do a union. Does a vertical pipe work? Like, I'm sure it doesn't. But so, yeah, but you'll have to kill.
I think it has to be a list of message or a list of string. So it's not a list of message or string elements. It's a list of message or a list of string.
I don't think. I'm not sure.
But I don't think it's a thing. Because it's no. You'd have to create a union type yourself of it and then put in logic to determine what's what.
Let's figure that. So
Let's say
what
no
I-
type language.
Timer just went bing. So what does that mean? That means
You're driving
Billy
them.
driving Ben. And I think this might be our last round.
Billy navigating Ben.
Billy
I
But
assume.
navigating Ben, yeah, that's what I meant. Ish.
Cool. Go for it, Ben.
So you want to follow me then, Tom?
Oh,
Yep.
Alrighty.
Are we going to change the return type, or are we going to change the user? I would quite like to return. Let's change the user. That feels easy to do since we've already done it once.
Sure. So what
Same
we want to
basic
create
operation.
a user class. Is that what we're
Let's
saying?
do it. Yeah, let's do it.
File name string.
Nice.
All right.
Cool.
Is that what's that refactor magic that lets me change the type?
You might.
Oh,
In that case, you might be able to rename it, but I don't believe it's going to work. No, I think. Yeah.
I'm just gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. All right. Well, to be fair, every single. Yeah.
so one thing that you could do is you could chuck in an overload for the post message where it takes a message and a user. A user and a message.
Yeah.
And then converts it into a string. Or otherwise the test will fail, I think.
So while we're overloading that, you get user timeline here.
Yeah, shit, I hadn't thought about that. We could just do the post message for now, I think, and then not change the user timeline yet.
Are you missing a brace?
Sorry, I'm getting all messed up here with my keybinds. Right. So what here, username becomes a
Yeah, so
user
if you duplicate the user message with the post message function,
all right,
yeah, just so the tests say green. We should do TCR on one of these sometime. That would be great.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah, nice, cool.
But that needs to be user.name. It's the one in the compute. Yeah. And so also
Cool. Oh, the first type is probably a string still rather than a user on line 17.
Yeah. It's
This name is
the first type to the lambda. So if you get rid of no, that was good. But inside the yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one.
Not that one. The one to the left. That one. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Oh,
no, that's fine.
No.
Okay. Just catching up. Cool.
Do you want to run the tests? Just check everything's still green. Should be. I can't see why it wouldn't be.
I mean, yeah, because I don't think anything uses this. It's all
yeah.
Still happy.
cool. So now what do we want to do? We want to change the test so that we use creating users instead.
Yeah, let's use.
What's the
Control G? Well, I don't know what
G.
it is.
No, it's
Don't know
not.
don't know what it
G.
is on your
It's not.
Windows
I use Control D in VS Code, and that just doesn't.
No idea. I can do it for you if you want.
Yeah, would love. Get more key maps.
Oh shit! It's only on post we want to do it, isn't it? We don't want to do it.
Grab the comma and you can do it easily. Oh, that works as well. Yeah.
Oh, wrong button. There we go.
It's pretty close.
And if I do a Control M, that jumps me to there.
Nice. Are the tests still passing?
Okay, I fixed it. I fixed my key map.
Nice.
Well, you did that.
Run that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, there you go. That's working.
Right. We're all passing. Cool. Which means this we should just be able to get rid of now.
Apparently not, though, right? It's not gone grey yet.
Because Bob has
Bob.
Done yet.
Okay. Bob.
Classic Bob. There we go. Now we can get rid of it.
Nice. Rerun the tests. Should all be green.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Okay.
So I have a question. How do we do a refactor of get user timeline where we don't break the interface, but we do change the return type.
So you
How do
mean you mean like username is still a string, but the return type is now a user? Sorry, a list of
a list of, I guess, messages. I suppose
tell
you
you
could
what
just
I
do the
would do.
user.
What I would probably do if it was me is I'd probably create a second get user timeline that returns the messages. Then I'd update the test to use that one until this one was obsolete. Then kill it, and then rename it.
Sure,
But
for now, why don't we just swap out the user's name to be a whatchamacallit user?
like this?
we can do that. We can do that for the
perfect.
parameter. Yeah, for the parameter, we can do that. And you can even just call. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
You don't need a return if you've got an equals.
Ah, yeah, that makes sense.
That's still passing? Should
do.
be.
Well,
Be surprised if not.
nothing's using it, so my guess would be yes. Where's the rerun test button on the left-hand side?
I don't know. I just press Control R.
It's the play button.
There is no. I don't have a play button.
Oh. I don't know then.
It might just be Windows weirdness. Anyway, okay. Right. So, do we want to change our get user timeline to take a user instead then in the test?
Yeah, let's pass the user.
All right. So, right now my thing works. Bam! Look at that.
Nice.
When the key map is
Cool.
set properly.
Now you can it's that one inline. So we need to inline that. I don't know if you can do that. Do you want me to do it?
Alt enter is not working.
No, it's the code with me. I can do it here. There we go.
Wait,
Cool.
perfect. And
do you know what we've got 3 minutes left, and I'm only an advisor, so you can throw my idea in the bin, but I still hate that the map is still using the primitive user.
You mean this one?
Not even that one. Yes, that one,
11.
but the one on line 11.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, definitely. We should change that. So
let's do it.
Now, here's a good question. Are data classes hashable? I'm guessing yes, right? They must be.
They should be. That's the point of it being a data class in theory. Line 17 as well. Yay.
Nice. And are we green still?
We are.
Nice.
2 minutes, Billy. What's the final change?
Should we do the return type? Might as well. It's the last one.
Okay.
So let's make a new method which returns our awesome, world-shatteringly fantastic message class, but maybe has a slightly different name or new in front of it or whatever. Cool. Now we just call it because I'm lazy.
That's not going to work in this time. That's not going to work. It'd have to be the other way around.
You could do a dot map.
What, to put it back? Yeah, you could put it back.
But it's kind of nuts, isn't it? Okay, so let's.
I mean, then it's just messages user, isn't it?
Yeah,
or empty. Yeah, or mepty.
Empty.
There we go.
Cool. So
does it offend you this being on the same line?
Not yet. A more serious answer is that I'd like to make it so they could all fit on one line.
Oh, look, check this out. Come on.
Yeah. But you can also, I think that these types should die a death as well. So if you get rid of this, then I think that's almost.
Cool, because you don't even need that. Nice.
It's got type inference. It's you can work that out.
Cool. Should we try
this is a lot more difficult to read.
So
should we use that new method?
Yeah. So I'm just going to do bump. So what does it
Have
get? Use the timeline.
you stopped following?
Oh, sorry, I've stopped. Yeah, my mistake.
It's changing on my screen, but the
So
roaring crowd is
here. The assert equals is complaining because we're doing a list of.
Yeah.
There's 2 places here.
Okay, that's time up, but we can finish this change.
like, what is it? Countdown or mastermind? I've started, so
Yeah.
I'll finish.
Oh no.
There is a command. There is a key. I have no idea what it is on Windows, but it's Control M on here, which takes you to the matching bracket or quote.
I always just press Alt up and do the smart select, and then press left or right, which wouldn't win in golf, I don't think.
No. Cool. Is that working? Is that running?
Yeah, I haven't run it. Control R isn't working either. Man, I don't know. I don't know what the key map is on.
There we go. It worked. I think. Oh, and then somebody broke something. Shit.
Oh.
Is that me breaking something?
We've got a message for group.
There we go.
I think we should rename the type for that. I think it's much clearer.
Cool. So.
Oh, we can delete that.
Yeah, we can delete that function now, and then I think we're sadly going to have to have a little retro. I think the one thing. No, I think that's it. You could extract at the end of line 12, right? That you could give that lambda a nice name, call it like add message or something, and then it might all be pretty. But this is good. This was fun.
What do you mean here? So like create a new private function, add message, right? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, you might not even need to do that though. You might I can probably select this and call it.
I think for a single operation, I would almost certainly just leave it as a.
Yeah, lambda. I think maybe just shorten that user messages to this messages. It's still a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
M. Yeah. No, let's not do that. Anyway, good stuff. Pity we didn't extract the state out into a put an interface in there and that kind of stuff, but never mind.
I mean, so, we were coming brand new to Kotlin, right? So there's a lot of syntactic shit where we were learning to.
First two,
that was the thing I wanted to show you. Let me see if this works. So you said never using Java again, Ben. I think this will work, right? If I go into here, I'm going to say create a new Java class called Java version. If this works, I'm going to be quite happy. If I go to the Kotlin one, are you watching my screen?
Yeah.
If I grab that, let's see if this works. Oh, it didn't. It works the other way around. You can take the Java code and it will convert it to Kotlin, but it doesn't seem to work Kotlin to Java. Oh well, that's a pity. Cool. So what we normally do at this point is we just have a little retro. So we just write down a couple of questions. I'll just do it in the README. So I think let's just keep it really simple. Let's say what did you like? So liked, didn't like.
By the way, while you do this, John Wilson said this was so good. Thank you all so much. I learned a lot.
Well, thank you, John.
Lovely.
Thanks for joining, John. We appreciate you. We appreciate you joining.
So, just spend a minute or so jotting down a few things that you liked, didn't like. Would like to discuss.
Is it about the whole thing? Is there a frame for it beyond?
I think anything you like, but I think maybe the questions are the mob format and Kotlin. How about that?
Yeah.
But anything you like, you can also say I thoroughly enjoyed streaming, or I didn't like Tom.
I I really enjoyed having someone interacting with the stream. I'll put it down. Sorry.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to. I'm going to stop. I've broken my code. It's no longer responding.
Oh dear. I'll put it down for you.
Thank you. It's still going. Good night. There we go.
Yeah, I would definitely +1 that. Both of those things.
Oh,
Oh no. There is a major delay.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Right. So I found it quite hard to not navigate when I was the advisor. I wonder if that's just me, like I need to be a bit more focused about not doing that.
I've got another thought about that.
I don't think that's I don't like. It was just
okay. Okay.
It's just a discussion point. I didn't necessarily.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a don't like thing. It's yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna put it here. IntelliJ not having IntelliJ key map. Sorted.
Yeah.
That slowed me down quite a lot. To be fair, the getting the Zoom streaming works quite nicely, I have to say.
Cool. So if you want to write anything down, then let's do it. But let's run through top to bottom. So Kotlin, fun language. Anyone not like Kotlin?
No, I really like it.
I really liked it as well. It's been ages and ages and ages since I did it, and
You know, Billy, I was thinking about this before we did this, and I think the only other video of me and you coding on the internet is Kotlin.
amazing.
Wait, so was this just for my benefit then?
No, not really. Like I mean, from I don't know about Billy's point of view, but Kotlin's something I've played with over the years, but it comes and goes, right? And it's never something that I've had to do like real work in. I've only ever used it for fun. So it's it was still like coming to a language that you haven't used for a very long time or don't really remember. You know, like when I was saying I think you can do this and this might not work, I genuinely did not know. It was just like picking at old memories. It's definitely I definitely prefer it to Java, but I think I don't think it's even fair to just compare it as a Java alternative. You know, it is more functional in the way that it thinks. You know, it is.
No, but I quite like that because like my beef with Java is that it's just so OOP heavy. And that's why Python is quite nice, right? Because you can kind of flex the paradigm depending on what you're trying to do. Whereas with Java, it's like, nope, OOP everything, right? And then that gets quite verbose after a while. But being able to see like a function that's not inside a class in a JVM language is quite nice to see. I mean, okay, sorry, not JVM language, but like a language that is so closely related to sure. Java, if you see what I mean. Yeah. Again, there's things like Scala and whatever, but yeah.
When I was thinking about it, I was thinking like, is it like I was imagining it being like a language which is like you can do anything at all that you want in it, but I think I might have been thinking of Scala, with another JVM language, like which is like that. But because this didn't feel like I had too many options to implement something. I didn't have the Perl problem.
Yeah. Cool. Interaction with the stream, very pleasant.
That was cool.
Yeah, really pleased with that. Maybe that's the sign of us going towards big things. different people on the stream. So it's been a lot of fun with Mark and John. I also don't expect me to always be on this stream, but it would it's great for it to be more than just the three of us going around in circles.
Oh yeah, I think we should definitely rotate it around the other engineers for sure. I like it.
Zoom.
Oh yeah, that works quite nicely, honestly. Like just click a button, paste the stream in, and it's like one-to-one mapping with YouTube, like super easy.
You didn't like the IntelliJ key map?
Yeah, like I just find the VS Code one so much more intuitive. I don't know why. I'm weird.
So we've always used Code with Me for the stream so far, but like the goal was always to try different tools, different approaches, different things. One of the things that we have been trying to do is sort of kind of only change one thing per like each week, whereas this week we've changed the people, the language, and the exercise. But we can absolutely like move to like have a go with VS Code or
I thought that
we could do it Vim over SSH.
So I'm fine using IntelliJ. I mean, it makes sense for most languages, and because you can change the key map as well, and there's lots of.
I think it's not about us like being fine with the tools we've got. I think it's more about us exploring.
Just exploring.
Options.
Okay, right, fair enough. Makes sense.
Yeah, there were a few crashes.
Just like a bit irritating.
Yeah, I wonder if it was my end because both of you were connecting and disconnecting, and I was hosting. So I wonder if it was something to do with my connection. It hasn't happened before, but hey,
it might be because you live in the sticks in Wales.
Yeah.
How fast is your internet?
Yeah. It's not great here. It's about 20 megs, I think, down, and about 1 or 2 up. So yeah,
it's probably uphill as well.
Yeah. Implementing one feature in a given time. This is an interesting one. Who wrote that?
I wrote this one. I don't know what I expected, to be honest, because I was like, well, 2 hours, 3 engineers. I feel like you'd probably get more done. But we spent a lot of time just discussing on literally the first one. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just
it's an interesting one because it was the same with the Game of Life.
The Game of Life one.
And I think that it's easy to sort of treat it with a bit of frustration, like, oh, I could have done this in my time. Like in this time, I could have got this whole thing done on my own. But that's fine for a little project you're doing on your own. But I think this is much more about, for me at least, it's much more about like building from the ground up together.
Yeah.
Like the investment on thinking things through and aligning early on, is what pays off as time goes on. That's my take on it.
No, you do have a good point, and I do actually agree with you as well. And I think part of it is also like brand new language, like, oh, how do you do this in Kotlin? Over time that would get faster anyway.
For me also, there's like something which is quite interesting is that because we haven't paired together for a long time. Well, I mean, I paired with you yesterday, but that was a Ben, but that doesn't quite count. But like, because it was Bash. And so like we all have slightly different coding styles, and we probably all have relatively strong opinions as to what like thematically is the right way to do certain things. And I, for me, certainly got a lot out of exploring and thinking about the different styles. So like, as opposed to it being only one feature, I feel like we had a really good discussion about what is the right way to implement this, and I feel like I didn't get stuck on the on it being Kotlin. We just kept going, even if it was at a slow pace, which I thought was interesting.
No, yeah, that is a good point as well.
I put rotation time partly because of that comment about the should I have been more assertive when navigating, and certainly a faster rotation time means there's less time that you're navigating. But how did you find 10 minutes? Was 10 minutes just right? Too long? Not enough?
Fine for me.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I don't have a different reference point at the moment, so seems fine. But maybe I'd like to experiment with it next time, either make it shorter or longer, and then use that to decide what I prefer.
I would definitely recommend trying a shorter one, because when I've done longer, I feel like it feels the same, but you get more opportunity to tune out and drift off, right? Whereas I think once you get small enough, it feels like a different way of working to me. Like something changes, like where you stop, like I kind of said at the beginning, you stop feeling like it's a different person's go, because if you try and do that, then it gets really, really bitty, and it starts to feel like you're all, it's like one thing. I don't know if I'm putting that into words. I don't even know if that's a thing. That's just my experience.
No, that makes sense actually. Rather than it being like a define it, it's much more fuzzy, I guess, right? Like, you kind of just, like, if you were in the same room together, you kind of just like knock the keyboard back and forward kind of thing, like, oh, let me do this, or let me write this thing kind of thing.
An interesting thing there, right? Like that could force you to move in smaller steps if it was a short enough like period of time, because you've only got so much time, so your change has got to be little.
Yeah. Which did actually factor in this time, didn't it? It's like, where should we go next? Okay, let's focus on changing the type first rather than the next bit of functionality.
Yeah, I do think it takes a little bit of time to like sync up multiple people as well. Like 2 hours is probably just the point that you're getting warmed up, right?
Needs to do it all the time.
And we're people who work at the same company, like have the pretty much same ways of working, right? So like, if you're trying to apply this to other situations, you'd expect more time to get on each other's wavelength.
The Saman method, which is gathering dust, and I've not read it because I'm a terrible person. But they're using like a slot like this every week or something like that, and doing exercises with a team as an upskilling method.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Sorry, Billy, you holding that book up's totally distracted me from your book, and much more from the fact that you've got like a camera following you around the room. That's awesome.
It's because I slide down in my chair, so I wanted to follow my face. Otherwise, people just see the top of my head by the end of the day.
What camera do you actually have?
It's an OBS spot.
So like it's on a gimbal, and it's not software. Oh wow!
It's hardware, yeah.
I just thought it was, I don't know, some clever camera software that did it, but actually no, it's full on. Wow.
Let's finish the retro. Sorry, interface styles. Who wrote that?
I did. So I thought it was really interesting, the approach of like, do you, we kind of talked about this a lot already, so we probably don't need to spend very much time on it, but like, I just really enjoyed that conversation, and I just thought it was interesting, different approaches, and like I can see both sides of it. Like they both seem pretty good. It's just, yeah, so it was interesting. I don't often think about that because I tend to use the style that I use most of the time, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, good conversation. I guess given that we didn't have anything to plug it into, we didn't have a reference point, so it was like just personal preference, but it was a really great discussion.
Yeah.
Assertiveness.
Yeah, this is me. So I found that whenever I was navigating, I would say, should we X? And other people will say, let's X. And like, so there's a difference there, right? Like, so I'm asking a question, and like another style is to make a statement and say, we are going to do this. And like, I felt like asking a question is not quite as effective, but it's what feels natural to me, than making a statement about what we should do. And I was wondering if anyone had any thoughts on what the best way to do it is, or what you do.
I can go
I'm sorry. Yeah, go, Ben.
I guess my approach when I'm in the driver's seat is I ask the questions a lot, right? Like, so what should we do here? Probably a bit too much. But then when I'm navigating, I'm much more like, let's do this. But then I'd expect the driver to do that, like back and forth, like asking questions, kind of like Socratic method, back and forth. So still being directive with your, yes, let's do this. But the driver is double checking your like directions. That makes sense.
I even go like it. I switch modes. So if I think I know what I think we should do next, I've got two choices, right? I can either say, let's just do this thing, and then I'm banking on the advisors to say, stop, that's not a good idea. Or I could turn around and say, do you think we should do this thing? And then get their thumbs up and then do it. I tend to go with I'm just saying what we're doing because I trust, I've worked with you both, and I feel like if you disagreed, you would say. Whereas if I was trying to like encourage people to be part of it, I'd probably ask more. But I think also it's the other, it flips around as well. If I don't know, if I'm not confident, if I'm like, I'm not sure what I should do, then I'm going to field out for that information first. So I feel like if I know I want this test to be the next thing, then I'm just going to say, write that test, and somebody go, hang on a minute, have you've skipped ahead, or what about this test? But if I don't know, I'm like, what should we write next? I don't know. What should we do? It depends.
So in that situation, like when I don't know, I figure just write something, and then through the process of writing it, that is the thing that helps you figure out, oh no, actually this is what we need next, right? So like when we wrote that first post message function, I was like, I don't know what we should do, but let's just write that function. But through the process of doing that, we figured out, actually this is what we need.
Yeah.
So yeah, like as a navigator, I'm much more action biased in that, because it's, if just by doing it, you'll eventually get to the right answer.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's how I'd naturally work. But I think you can also get into a situation where you get, you try that approach and realize it's not going anywhere, and like basically step away from the keyboard and be like, let's talk about this.
Yeah, but point is like that it's still it leads you to that point, right? Probably a bit more
cool
quickly.
Stuff. Be interesting to go out and get some other people's opinions on that, because I think that's a really great question.
Yeah.
TCR, we want to try it.
We should definitely do that next time.
There's a plugin, I think. Like, there's another way that you can do it, where it's like the amount of code that you've got written, or a timer as well, which is interesting.
I think
you can set it.
I think that would be very entertaining to watch as a spectator as well.
It's good fun to do as well.
You could really hardcore gamify that, right?
See, now I'm wondering that did we that Kotlin video I was talking about with you, Billy, was that TCR'd? Was it TCR, so TCR Kotlin property-based tests and alcohol?
Yes, something like that. Yeah.
Let's do that again. That should be next week's one.
Cool. So that's everything on the list. Anything else that anyone is thinking or wanting to say?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So
yeah, good fun. Thank you, and thank you for making it happen, because it wouldn't have happened if you weren't up for it. So awesome. And yeah, the goal is to try and keep
this a thing.
The goal is to try and keep it going, regardless of who can keep it going.
Yeah.
Like, so, the more people that are familiar with being able to set up a stream and get it going, the better. But thank you. Really enjoyed that. Have a great weekend.
You too, Tom. You too, Billy.
Peace out. Have a
fun weekend.